In 1943, eastern India collapsed into one of the worst human disasters in recorded history. Millions of people, not dying in war, not from disease, but from something far more silent: the hunger. And here's the terrifying question nobody could answer at the time. What happens when a country simply cannot grow enough food to survive? Because if the answer was, nothing can be done, then this wasn't just India's crisis, it was the future of the entire world. But what happened next would change global agriculture forever. And it all started with one unexpected man from rural America. Back to 1943. The Bengal Famine killed an estimated 2 to 4 million people. But that was only a preview, because after World War II, something even more dangerous was emerging. Population growth was exploding. Food production was not keeping up. Entire nations stood on the brink of collapse. By the 1960s, experts were asking a terrifying question. Would food shortages define the future of humanity? And in countries like India, the crisis felt unavoidable because of low crop yields, unpredictable monsoons, outdated farming systems, and a population growing faster than the land could feed. India was trapped in a cycle. It couldn't escape. But then, a letter was written, and that letter would reach a man who didn't yet know he was about to feed billions. In 1914, in rural Iowa, a boy named Norman Borlaug grew up far away from politics, power, or global crises. Norman wasn't a child prodigy. He wasn't born into wealth. He was a just, honest farmer kid, working for hours and hours in soil, watching crops struggle, learning survival the hard way. At one point, he even dreamed of becoming a wrestler despite his poor financial condition. But one question kept pulling him back towards science. Why do plants fail when humans need them most? He studied forestry, then plant pathology, and eventually earned his PhD. In 1942, he joined a research mission in Mexico funded by the Rockefeller Foundation. His mission sounded simple: help farmers grow more food using better science techniques. But when crop diseases arrived, the reality hit him harder than expected. Fields that were supposed to feed a nation were failing season after season. Disease was spreading silently through crops. Harvests were collapsing before they could even reach storage. Mexico's wheat fields were collapsing under disease. Rust fungus destroyed harvest after harvest. Farmers distrusted scientists. Food imports were rising dangerously, and Borlaug had almost nothing to work with. No advanced laboratory, no major team, no public support, just fields and failure. But instead of walking away, he became obsessed. He started asking a radical question. What if wheat could be redesigned from the ground up? But there was one major problem. Tall wheat plants produced more leaves, but they collapsed under their own weight before harvest. Then came an unexpected breakthrough, a strange Japanese dwarf wheat variety called Norman 10. And Borlaug had an idea that sounded impossible. What if he could combine the strength of dwarf wheat with the high-yielding, rust-resistant Mexican spring wheat varieties? Most scientists thought it would fail.
This idea is unrealistic, Dr. Borlaug. Wheat simply cannot be redesigned that way.
Borlaug tried anyway. Borlaug began crossbreeding Japanese dwarf wheat with powerful Mexican wheat varieties. At first, nothing worked. Failure after failure, season after season. But then, something changed. A new type of wheat emerged, shorter, stronger, resistant to disease, and most importantly, it produced dramatically more grain. This wasn't just an improvement, it was a biological breakthrough, a single plant capable of surviving storms, resisting rust, and feeding more people than ever before. Borlaug didn't realize it yet, but this discovery was about to cross oceans and arrive in one of the most desperate countries on Earth. By the 1960s, India was in crisis. Food production could not keep up with demand. Imports kept rising. Famine fears returned. Millions remained vulnerable. Then came a turning point. Indian scientist M.S. Swaminathan made a bold decision. He wrote a letter. One simple request: bring Norman Borlaug to India.
We must bring Norman Borlaug to save our people.
In 1963, Borlaug arrived. What he saw changed him. Dry fields, struggling farmers, a nation balancing on the edge of catastrophe. But what happened next was no longer just scientific research. It became a race against time, and failure was not an option. Borlaug and Swaminathan worked side by side, testing Mexican wheat varieties in Indian climatic conditions, and the results stunned everyone. The crops didn't just survive, they exploded in productivity. Yields jumped from roughly 1,000 kilograms per hectare to nearly 4 or even 5,000. It felt unimaginable. Soon, something strange began happening across India. Schools were turned into grain storage centers. Rail systems struggled to transport overflowing harvests. For the first time in decades, India was producing more food than expected, and by 1967 and 1968, history was unfolding. India was no longer standing on the edge of famine. It was becoming self-sufficient. This movement would soon be known around the world as the Green Revolution. In 1970, Norman Borlaug received the Nobel Peace Prize. Millions of lives had been saved. Countries once threatened by famine had transformed their food systems. But even during the celebration, Borlaug remained worried. He warned that population growth was still accelerating faster than global food security. And later in life, he became increasingly concerned about sustainability, soil degradation, and farmer distress. Because one question still remained unanswered: had humanity solved hunger or merely delayed it? In 2009, Norman Borlaug passed away, but his impact continues to shape the modern world. The Green Revolution transformed India from a food-deficient nation into one of the world's largest agricultural producers. But Borlaug's story is bigger than agriculture. It is the story of one powerful idea. That innovation can rewrite survival itself. And maybe the most incredible truth is this: millions of people alive today exist because one scientist refused to accept that famine was inevitable. So the next time you see a field of wheat or hold a simple piece of bread in your hands, remember this: it wasn't just nature that fed the world. It was curiosity, persistence, and one man who believed that hunger did not have to become humanity's destiny. But now, the question facing our future is even bigger than before. Can we continue feeding the world we are creating next?